Hello there. You hear it all the time, the popular catchphrase, love is enough. What this catchphrase means is, love is enough to make relationships work. And this phrase makes us feel good. It makes us feel like love really can triumph over everything. And in a world where relationships are so incredibly complicated, it makes us feel as if love could make things quite simple. But is it actually true? The answer is no. Because when we're asking that question, we're not loving someone. We're in love with them. Love is a state of oneness. By loving someone, you include them as yourself. It is a state of appreciation for someone or something. Love, in fact, has no need to attach to someone or something to form a singular relationship, because it does not recognize separation. When separation is recognized, what we get is this thing we call falling in love. Falling in love is a state of intense attraction towards someone. And with attraction, we must consider that there is much more at work to the situation than love. Also, we have a conscious definition of love and a subconscious definition of love. Our subconscious definition of love is often quite sad, in fact. Love, on a subconscious level, is all the associations we have with home. Our childhood home, to be exact. So if home meant disappointment and betrayal and loneliness, then our subconscious definition of love is those things, and we will meet someone who makes us feel that way, and our subconscious mind goes, "Ah, this must be love." To become attracted to something, like a magnet, there must be polarity. But for polarity to exist, something cannot be in a state of wholeness. An aspect of itself must be rejected, suppressed, denied, or disowned. For example, for me to come into this life female, I must dissociate from the aspect of me that is male. For me to come into this life male, I must dissociate from the aspect of me that is female. And so, because I only represent half of the whole, I must now become attracted to my opposite half. In order to become whole again, I must reunite with my missing self. Now the shadow side is being born. That aspect of me is now something I am unconscious of. I can reunite with my denied, rejected, suppressed aspect internally or externally. Externally, I fall in love with what I have lost. Let's take this to a new level. The aspects of ourselves that we deny, reject, suppress, and disown are causing problems in relationships because those are the aspects we denied, rejected, disowned, and dissociated from as a result of trauma that we experienced in our life. They created wounds. Those wounds are sore spots. Being born relationally dependent into families that socialize us into a society that is not yet fully evolved makes it so that we learn that some aspects of ourselves are acceptable and others are not. What is acceptable versus unacceptable depends on the perspective of the family we're born into. The aspects of us that are seen as unacceptable, both positive and negative, are rejected by our family, and the aspects that are seen as acceptable are not. So being relationally dependent, in the name of survival, we do anything we can to disown and deny and suppress those aspects of ourselves that are disapproved of, whilst exaggerating those that are approved of. We dissociate from what we disapprove of. This self-preservation instinct is our first act of self-rejection. It is also the birth of attraction. An example of this is if we grow up in a family where we feel terror, but terror was unacceptable to express or admit to. We suppressed it and denied it, and now that terror and fear become subconscious. We overcompensate for whatever trait we have denied. For example, the person who has suppressed the aspect of themselves that is a striver becomes apathetic. The person who suppressed the aspect of themselves that was apathetic is such a striver they excel at everything. So what do? We become romantically attracted to people in our lives who mirror the aspect of ourselves that we are missing. We are a perfect match to them. Together, we feel more whole. This means the person who is apathetic will end up with a success freak, and both of them will be caused pain by the other because each is a reminder of the rejected aspect of themselves. Each is a reminder of the wound. They reflect to each other, each of their lost selves. I briefly explained why this causes us pain in my video on YouTube titled Projection. But for the sake of this video, let's pretend that when we see positive aspects of ourselves that we denied in other people, it causes us to fall in love. It feels like our opportunity to become more whole. We want more of it. We become addicted to it. We glorify it and put it on a pedestal and even idolize it. Need is that starved feeling of desperately having to have something. It is born from a vibrational space of lack. True desire does not come from that place of lack, and so it doesn't cause the kind of pain that need does. Desires are things that we want, but we don't think we're going to die without. A need, on the other hand, is something we absolutely think we're going to die without. And because we think we're going to die without it, it's now a matter of survival. Anything that is linked with survival is going to have priority within our system, which is why the subconscious mind and all of its needs are the thing which reigns triumphant. Instead of becoming incredibly complicated with this, I'll simplify it in this way. Your subconscious self has different needs in a relationship than your conscious self does, and your unconscious self will win out. That is where the all-powerful, intense attraction to someone is actually coming from, as opposed to the conscious, intimate connection and appreciation of someone that we can call love. All that being said, it is possible to have a high degree of unconscious attraction to someone, but also have a high degree of conscious attraction to someone. But when we experience perpetual conflict in our relationship, most often what is happening is that we have a high degree of subconscious attraction to someone and very little conscious attraction to someone. We are simply like a starving person compelled by an inner void to find any way we can to fill that void. What's the real reason that the spark in relationships tends to go away? It's because once the attraction becomes a relationship, it's like putting two magnets together so they become a whole circuit. That void is now been replaced by the other person. So all that we're left with is the remainder, whatever else is there besides that attraction. That's when we get into trouble. Sometimes we find we are actually consciously in a space of dislike about the person we partnered with after our subconscious needs were fulfilled. Here's an example. A woman may consciously know that her motivation to have a partner is an intimate connection where she and he understand each other and are unconditionally available for each other. But the subconscious mind might have the motivation to be safe. Because of this, she never stays single long enough to find someone who fits what she consciously wants in a partner. Instead, she may end up forming a relationship with the first person who crosses her path that fits her subconscious definition of love, which is safety. And if safety is a relationship in general, she will have no discernment and will boomerang from one relationship to the next for the sake of safety. For most of us, it is our subconscious mind that walks us into relationships, not our conscious mind. And as a result, once our subconscious needs are met, we are left only with our conscious needs, which often cannot be met by the partner we are subconsciously attracted to. So in the above scenario, once this woman is with a man who makes her feel safe, she will begin to be highly bothered that he is incapable of intimate connection and does not try to understand her and is emotionally unavailable. Ready for the extra layer? She has attracted this man into her life not just because of subconscious needs, but also because of past wounds that are unhealed and unresolved. We call this love reincarnation. If we had a primary attachment figure who could not love us the way that we needed to be loved, this creates a wound within us that we are perpetually trying to heal. It's almost like a skipping CD that can't get past it until we resolve it. So if we manifest somebody who has similar attributes to the primary attachment figure that we had in childhood, but get them to love us in the way that we need them to love us, subconsciously we think we have solved our wound. So chances are our example woman had a daddy who was not emotionally available and who didn't try to understand her and who was incapable of intimate connection. On a higher universal level, by being with a man who is like that, she has an opportunity to heal her own past wounds, become more whole in and of herself. On a lower level, she is convinced that if she gets a man like daddy, she gets him to be available to her and understand her and form an intimate bond with her, she solved her daddy wound. It must be said that people who have less wounding and less trauma, especially emotionally, make better decisions with regards to relationships because less of their subconscious mind is compelling them into the relationships. Their relationships are much more conscious than they are subconscious. Our intense attraction to other people has far more to do with our wounds than it ever had to do with love. Now, we may be taking a step in the direction of our expansion, but we are also taking a step in the direction of pain. This is not to say that you should fear that feeling of intense attraction. It is to say that whenever we feel that intense feeling of falling in love, We must be completely aware that our subconscious mind is at work trying to get its needs met. We should put effort into finding our subconscious motivations for the relationship. We must be prepared to encounter huge shadows. And hopefully we have chosen a partner that is prepared to face those shadows as well, and with us. It must be said that if two people are capable of consciously approaching a relationship like this, that we can then use the other person as a mirror to magnify the aspects of ourselves that are wounded and that are in need of healing and are in need of integration. And if we are then capable of becoming more whole in and of ourselves, the only thing that will be left is a state of love. At that point, the choice of whether or not to be committed to one person exclusively, in marriage for example, would be a deliberate lifestyle choice rather than a choice motivated by internal compulsion. Yes, it sounds less romantic, but anyone who has experienced the peaceful embrace of this kind of love will tell you how amazing it really is. If two people become completely whole in and of themselves, so instead of becoming two halves of one whole, they are two wholes in a relationship with each other, what then is the purpose of the relationship? You're going to have to ask yourself that question, and be open to the idea that if you reach that point, your answer might change. But the answer might be something like, once we get to that point, we will be able to actually know what genuine love feels like. We will be in a shared experience where we are witnessing each other, where we are genuinely experiencing each other's wholeness. The studies that have been done on arranged marriage have perplexed people. How can it be possible that someone not being able to choose love could ever lead to a happy marriage? Now let's take the equation of lack of freedom of choice out of the situation. Why is it then that we find that there's a higher rate of happiness long-term in relationships where the marriages have been arranged? The answer is that those unions are not motivated by subconscious attraction, and so they are not motivated as a result of internal wounds. Happiness, therefore, is really left up to whether the couple is compatible or not. If yes, genuine love is more likely to result from that union. If not, it will be an unhappy marriage. But genuine love is in fact easier to develop when the subconscious and all its various wounds are not involved in the matchmaking business. The bottom line is we must question our chemistry. When we say things like, it just feels right, or we have great chemistry, it means there is polarization present in the relationship, and that means there are shadows that we are currently unaware of. And if you felt empty before you got into a relationship, you will end up feeling just as empty after you get into the relationship. It's just that those fairy tales you've been watching on TV always cut out after they commit to one another, so you never get to see that part of the story. On a universal level, it serves the universe and you to leap on your feelings of intense attraction. This leads to extreme expansion. This leads to you being face to face with mirrors that are bigger than any other mirrors that you can experience in relationships. Nothing will mirror your unconscious to you larger and thus cause you to become conscious faster, so it is not wrong to jump on those feelings. But great expansion always involves great contrast. And so we must beware of thinking that those feelings are any indication of a promise of relationship happiness. When we are swept up in the intensity and the chemistry of that powerful attraction, we have the tendency to ignore red flags and also to not examine the relationship further than that attraction that we feel. Then once the attraction fades, because the attraction has been replaced by a relationship, we are floored. We fall from cloud 9 all the way to the ground, and now we are faced with the harsh reality of struggling to combine our lives with someone. It must be said that most people put more effort into deciding what they are going to eat for breakfast every day than they put into deciding who they want to have a potential relationship with. When we feel the intense chemistry of that attraction with someone, it's a good idea to play a game of removing that particular aspect of our relationship from the scenario, as if you could just delete it, and looking at what remains. If there were no attraction, would I be compatible with this person? Love does not conquer all when it comes to relationships. Just take a look at your past relationships. Love is enough to conquer all conflict, all differences. in a relationship. Is that really true of all your past relationships? That it would have been okay if you had just loved enough? It is possible to love someone and to have it be a bad decision to get into a relationship with that particular person, which is a lifestyle choice. For example, I might love someone who's in the military, but I might be the kind of person who is not capable of sitting by myself on Christmas Eve. We need to play the tape forward and see what it would actually feel like to combine my life with that person. What would it actually feel like if I was in a relationship with this person, but now I literally am sitting by myself on Christmas Eve. Now I literally am providing birthday parties that they'll never attend. Some people could do that. Some people could not. If you're a person who couldn't and you choose to be in a relationship with someone in the army anyway, your relationship is headed for pain. We should never put commitment before compatibility. But once we have established compatibility, we must commit for the relationship to work. Regardless of how much you love someone, relationships are always going to be affected by your differences. Your differences are going to matter. Now, people do not get divorced or separated or break up because they don't love each other. They break up because they aren't consciously compatible or they aren't consciously committed. There is a saying, as long as two people want it to work, they can make it work. There is truth to this particular phrase. But we run into issues when two people have opposing desires, which is an issue of compatibility, because compatibility has more to do with desires than anything else. When two people have conflicting desires, it means that the roads they need to take for their own expansion are faced in opposite directions. Sometimes those opposing roads can be complementary, meaning we can find a way to accommodate both. Other times, there is no way to accommodate both. When desires are opposing to a degree that they cannot accommodate one another, the desire to make it work in the relationship goes away. It feels more like forcing yourself sideways. Some differences can be accommodated in a way where both partners are happy, others cannot. We should always look for a third option or a way to accommodate differences if we have already committed and incompatibility is rising. But we also have to know that if there is no way to accommodate both people's desires and stay together, the relationship commitment should end. I'm planning on doing a video in the future about how to determine if someone is compatible with you. I'm also going to do a video in the future on the fear of commitment. So make sure you watch out for those videos. It is not more or less smart to act on those intense feelings of attraction, as long as you know what it is you really want. If you want rapid expansion, if you want to become self-actualized as fast as you can, then jump on those feelings of attraction without really thinking. If, however, you want a relationship that is a tranquil place of peaceful union, then don't act on those feelings of intense attraction without first involving your rational mind. If your goal is not the most rapid expansion that you can find, if your goal is a harmonious and peaceful union with someone that is tranquil, then practice this mantra. Love is not enough. Love needs conscious compatibility, and love needs conscious commitment. Have a good week.